This is our last unit on owning and operating a vehicle. Lesson 1 is called Driver's License and Fines. So an Ontario driver's license, it's only been since 1994 that we have this new graduated licensing where you need to get your G1 and G2 until you finally get your Class G license. So one thing is that when you're 16, you're able to get your G1. You pass that test, and then there are some rules and regulations for drivers who have their G1. So a new driver must hold a G1 license for a minimum of 12 months. I think when you take driver's training, you're able to get your G2 in 8 months, which is a little bit faster and kind of sometimes exciting. As a G1 driver, there are some things you have to know. You need to maintain a 0 blood alcohol level while driving. You have to have obviously a fully licensed driver driving with you. That accompanying driver, it has to be the only other person in the front seat. There has to be obviously enough seat belts for all the passengers in the car. You can't drive on 400 series highways. So when you get to the 400, the 401, 407, things like that around Toronto, it's too early. You're not allowed to drive on those yet. And then also you can't drive between midnight and 5 a.m. G2, so after that 8 months, if you take your driver's ed, or after a year, you can have your G2 license for a minimum of 12 months before you can attempt the G2 road test. So if something's happening with your G2, you're allowed to drive on your own, then you have to maintain a 0 blood alcohol level while driving. Ensure the number of passengers in the vehicle is limited to the number of working seatbelts. Something that some students don't know is between the hours of midnight and 5 a.m., if you are 19 years and under and you have your G2, in the first 6 months, you're only allowed to carry one passenger age 19 or under between midnight and 5 a.m. There is a demerit system in Ontario. You don't lose demerit points on your driving record. You start with 0 and you gain points when you've broken certain traffic laws. If you get enough demerit points, you can lose your license. So if you have 2 to 8 points, so you've had a speeding ticket that was serious, you'll be sent a warning letter. 9 to 14 points, you could actually have your license suspended. And you might have to attend an interview and discuss your driving record and convince people why you should still be able to have a license. And if you have 15 or more points, your license is suspended for 30 days. Seatbelt fines, if you are driving, you could face a fine if you or anyone in your vehicle under age 16 is not wearing a seatbelt. If convicted, you'll be fined between $200 and $1,000, and it's 2 demerit points. So you're responsible for people in the vehicle to have their seatbelts on. Speeding fines. So there's some math in these speeding fines. If you're convicted of speeding, you may receive demerit points if you're going fast enough. 3 points for going over the speed limit by 16 to 29 kilometers an hour. 4 points if you're going over by 30 to 49 kilometers an hour. 6 points for going over the speed limit by 50 kilometers an hour or more. So your fine depends on how fast you were traveling over the posted speed limit. So if you're going 20 over so this is about the fine. If you're going less than 20 over, it's $3 per every kilometer per hour over the speed limit you were going. And so there's a chart here, 20 to 30. If you're going 50 kilometers or more over the speed limit, it's almost $10 for every kilometer over. So the fines can get really expensive. As well, there's a surcharge added to each fine depending on how much the fine was for. So for example, if your fine was for $35, you'd only have to add also a $10 surcharge to that. So example 1, what is the cost of going 35 kilometers over the speed limit, and how many demerit points are charged? So for these questions, I just want you to look at the charts that we have. If we're going 35 kilometers an hour over, that's in this range from 30 to 50. So that's $7 for every kilometer that you go over. And then also, because we were going 35 kilometers over, our fine, when we look at it, is going to be about $245. So as well, we have to add on a $50 surcharge fee. So I'll show you if we were going $7 per kilometer. So we were going 35 kilometers over times $7 for each kilometer over. The fine is $245. Plus we have to add a $50 surcharge. So that comes out to a $295 fine, which is quite a lot of money. And then demerit points, if we go back for 35 over, at the top here, you'd get 4 demerit points. What is the cost of going 22 kilometers over the speed limit, and how many demerit points are charged? So 22 kilometers over the speed limit, that's in this range, $4.50 for every kilometer that you were going over. So we would have, you're going 22 over, $4.50 for every kilometer that you were going over. So that's $99. $99 fine, plus we have to look at the surcharge. So $99 is in this range here. So you'd have a $20 surcharge added to that. So that comes out to $119 would be your fine. Okay, demerit points for going 22 kilometers over. 16 to 29 kilometers an hour over, so you'd get 3 demerit points for that. What is the cost of going 70 kilometers over the speed limit, and how many demerit points are charged? 70 kilometers over. Okay, so 50 kilometers or more, $9.75 for every single kilometer you go over. As well, this is going to be an expensive fine, so our surcharge is in this range. Our surcharge is going to be $125 on top of the fine. So we have $9.75 for every kilometer over. You were going 70 over times $9.75. So there is a way to calculate the cost of a ticket. It's not just random. $682.50 for the fine, plus $125 surcharge. So you would end up with an $807.50. That would be the fine that you have to pay, and that is 6 demerit points. Describe what happens to a fully licensed driver if they get 9 demerit points. So if we look back, if you had 9, so your license could be suspended. Anywhere from 9 to 14, you might have to attend an interview to discuss your driving record. So example 3, if you have your G1 license, can you drive at night? So if you have your G1, somebody would have to be with you, but yes, you can drive at night, but not after midnight and not between midnight and 5 a.m. And then example 4, if you just received your G2 license, can you carry 3 passengers after midnight? So those were some of the rules back at the beginning of the lesson, and you might just have to read through some of that. There's rules for the G2 driver. So with your G2 license, if you are under 19, for the first 6 months, you can carry only 1 passenger, age 19 or under after midnight. And all of these rules are just designed to keep you safe.